Hello, whisperers. Welcome to the channel. If you enjoy tonight's tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It helps more than you know. Now, dim the lights, and let's begin tonight's story. The carousel moved last night. No power, no music. Just the grinding of rusted gears and the sound of horses turning their heads when they thought I wasn't looking. They told me the park was shut down for safety reasons, structural instability, failing power grid, liability issues. They even used the word asbestos in the contract like a magic spell to ward off further questions. I didn't ask any. You don't ask questions when you're broke, burned out, and already halfway gone. You just sign and pray the work is easy. I was told I'd be the last employee, just a temporary presence. 1 month, walk the perimeter twice a day, document the decay, file a nightly report by fax to a number I wasn't allowed to call back. No visitors, no tours, no one else on site. The gate was unlocked when I arrived. There was a padlock dangling from the chain, sure, but it wasn't secured. Someone had looped it through the bars and never snapped it closed, as if to say, it's not about keeping people out. The welcome sign hung above me like a dead smile. Welcome to Hollow Vale Park. The font was bubbly, carnival bright, with flaking red paint and a half-lit bulb border that hadn't glowed in years. One of the O's had fallen off and lay crooked in the brush below, filled with nesting bugs. Taped to the gate was a weather-stained notice. Park closed until further notice. Trespassers will be prosecuted. I didn't see anyone to prosecute me. Just acres of cracked pavement and weeds splitting through every inch of foundation like nature was trying to pull the place under. The silence here isn't right. It's layered, like something behind the quiet is breathing in time with your thoughts. At first you think it's wind. Then you notice the leaves don't move. You hear a giggle, a child's, or what tries to sound like one. I had to stop and look behind me 3 times before I even reached the security building. They'd set me up in the old command box behind the food court, a squat concrete bunker with a steel door and no windows. It stank of mold and fried oil, like the ghost of a deep fryer was still working overtime somewhere in the walls. Inside, 1 cot, 1 fridge, 1 desk, 1 ancient monitor, a drawer with flashlights, half of them dead, a red phone with no buttons, landline only. It rings once every morning at 8 a.m., not before, never more than once. When I answer, there's a man's voice, cold, clipped, mid-sentence like he's reading from a script. Report status. That's it. No greeting. No name, no emotion, just those 2 words and the expectation that I'll speak. So I lie. Everything's normal, no damage, no intruders, nothing unusual. And I hang up. That's what they want to hear. I think that's what keeps me from being replaced. Or worse, promoted. The rides are corpses. That's what I tell myself. Roller coaster tracks bent like broken spines. The tilt-a-whirl rusted into immobility. The water in the splash pad gone murky green, with duckweed choking the drain. Booths where stuffed animals used to hang like trophies are now webbed and rotted. their plastic eyes sun-faded into blindness. But sometimes they twitch. I don't mean that figuratively. The carousel moves, not every night, not in full circles, but I've heard it whine into motion under moonlight, the calliope wheezing without music, just the creak of chains and the occasional thump like one of the horses slipping free of its pole. And sometimes the mascots change places. Hollow Vale's official mascot is Sonny the Possum, oversized head, dumb cartoon eyes, paws like overstuffed oven mitts. There are statues of him scattered all over the park, most up on platforms or beside rides. Props, really. But one day I passed a Sonny statue near the Ferris wheel I was sure hadn't been there the night before. I'd seen it earlier. It was posted outside the carousel. I marked its foot with grease pencil, checked again that night. Gone. The next morning, it was standing behind the food court. Same one, same mark. That's when I started sleeping with the flashlight clutched in my hand, thumb already on the switch. I used to think the place was haunted. Now I think it's worse. It's waiting. Something here doesn't want me gone, doesn't want me safe, but it does want me moving. I caught myself following tracks in the dirt yesterday. Bare feet, small, child-sized, leading out of the funhouse and disappearing into the concrete near the Tunnel of Wonder. And that tunnel, Jesus, painted mushrooms, glowing cloud murals, cartoon faces smiling from the stone arch. But the air in there hums. It vibrates with something you can't name, and the shadows don't behave. I stood at the entrance and felt the light die on my shoulders. Not dim, die. Like I was about to fall into something not meant for people. The humming came from inside. A low woman's voice. No lyrics, just syllables that didn't quite fit together. I didn't go in. I didn't run either. I just walked backward until the sound stopped. That night, I locked my door and bolted it, jammed a chair under the knob for good measure. I woke up at 3:12 a.m. because I was cold. The door was wide open. The chair was upright and untouched, and outside the threshold, placed side by side, were my boots, cleaned, laced, facing outward. I didn't scream. I didn't grab the flashlight. I just stood there, not blinking until dawn hit the concrete. Nothing was stolen, except the batteries from every flashlight in the drawer. Yesterday I found a new trail. Behind the staff break room is a thin path through broken fencing. Not on any map. The grass is shorter there, like someone or something has been walking it recently. It leads to an overgrown section of the park I never knew existed. No rides, just crumbling platforms and rotted wood signs. And one gate, steel, bent, bolted into stone. It had a sign I had to scrape clean to read. Zone 5, staff only. Do not enter alone. Do not exit after dark. There's no record of Zone 5 in any of the files they gave me. Not on the blueprint, not on the orientation video. The trail ended there, but I don't think I did. The red phone rang this morning. Report status. I stared at the wall. I wanted to tell him I was afraid. that something was in the park with me, that the shadows breathe and the carousel is whispering names. But what I said was, "The park still breathes." For the first time, the voice didn't answer. What I heard next wasn't from the phone. It was from the air vent above my head. A wet chuckle. Low, delighted. "Good," it whispered. Then silence. The carousel didn't move last night. That should have made me feel safer. It didn't, because it meant something had changed. Something was watching me wait for it to happen and chose not to move, like a breath held behind wooden teeth. The phone call yesterday wasn't the same. 6 days of the same voice, detached, automatic, sterile. Then a chuckle, a different voice, a man's voice, deeper, wet somehow, like someone grinning with a mouth full of water. "You'll do fine," it said. I didn't answer. I just listened, and then the line went dead. I didn't sleep after that. I sat on the cot with my back against the wall, flashlight on, all the batteries checked. I lined up every one of them on the desk, counted them 3 times, 12 in total, none missing. But I didn't blink much that night. I kept looking at the door, not because I thought something would come in, but because I wasn't sure it ever really left. I stayed inside until after 9 a.m. the next day, long past when I was supposed to begin my perimeter check. I don't know why I waited. Maybe I thought the phone would ring again. It didn't. Just silence. That pulsing kind of silence this place specializes in. The kind that makes your ears feel like they're holding their breath. When I finally stepped outside, the sky was an off shade of yellow, like a bruise trying to be daylight. The park looked the same. Peeling paint, rusted bolts, moldy prize booths, but something felt off. The trash bins were full, stuffed with popcorn bags, soda cups, a kid's balloon animal. They were empty yesterday. I stood over one of the bins for a long time, just staring. I didn't touch anything, didn't take pictures, didn't write it down. I just walked back to the office, locked the door, and started digging through the drawers again. I don't know what I was looking for. Proof, maybe. Something that could explain this place beyond my gut saying wrong, wrong, wrong. The bottom filing cabinet was jammed shut. Old humidity had swollen the wood around the metal. Took a screwdriver and a knee to get it open. Inside were mostly useless records, maintenance logs, security memos, a crumpled list of mascots and costume cleaning guidelines dated 2003. But shoved in the back, almost hidden, was a small black binder. No label, no tabs, just a thin, elastic loop holding it shut. Inside were hand-drawn maps, 5 of them, each one a different version of Hollow Vale Park. The first 2 matched what I had memorized. The third had new sections, tunnels beneath the fun house, a crawl space under the carousel. The fourth was even stranger, rooms listed beneath the Tunnel of Wonder, drawn deep underground. No ride above them, just black boxes with handwritten names. Room 3, do not look. Room 6, echo chamber. Room 11, the girl in the bear suit. That last one was circled. The 5th map was blank except for 2 words scrawled in red across the center. Zone 5, No details, no paths, no measurements, just a title. And underneath it, penciled faintly in the corner, "You are not meant to enter. You are meant to stand watch." I sat back in the chair and stared at the maps spread across the desk. I felt something in my chest, tight, sharp, like a needle turning every time I swallowed. They never told me to guard anything. They told me to inspect, maintain, record decay. But Zone Phi wasn't part of that job. And now I knew it existed, which means I wasn't just the last employee. I was something else. That afternoon, I walked the south edge of the park again. I followed the trail I'd found yesterday. The sticky black residue on the concrete had mostly dried, but I could still trace its path. It led to the unmarked platform, still sunken, still overgrown. The corroded turnstiles hadn't moved, but something else had. There was a gate built into the concrete wall now. I know that sounds impossible. I would have seen it yesterday, but I swear on everything, I didn't. It was painted the same color as the stone, like someone didn't want it to be noticed. A hinged metal panel, barely 4 feet tall, with a handle wrapped in what looked like leather. Old, stiff, and carved into the center of it, in faint block letters, Zone 5, staff only. I didn't open it, but I did kneel beside it and press my ear to the metal. Nothing, then maybe. It was so soft I can't be sure. I thought I heard scraping, like nails dragging across concrete. That night something left me a message. When I returned to the security office, one of the flashlights I'd lined up on the desk was missing. I found it standing upright in the middle of the floor. The light was on, but the beam pointed directly at the wall, where something had been written in black grease pencil. "Don't let her sing." No signature, no explanation, just those 4 words. The only her I could think of was whatever I'd heard humming in the Tunnel of Wonder days ago. The voice, low, off-key, like a woman trying to remember a lullaby she used to hum before she forgot her own name. This morning's call came at 8 a.m., as usual. I answered. "Report status," the voice said. I thought about the message on the wall, about the hidden maps, the changing gate, the full trash bins, the laughter that sometimes echoes from the log flume after midnight. I thought about lying again. Instead, I said, "The park feels different." There was a pause. Not long. Then the same voice responded. "Good. That means it's working." Click. There's no manual for this, no rules I trust, no names, no guidance, but I know one thing. Zone 5 isn't just a part of the park. It's the reason the park exists. Everything else, every ride, every cheerful sign, every broken down teacup, it's camouflage. And I think I was never meant to fix anything. I think I was hired to make sure whatever's underneath stays forgotten. But it hasn't forgotten us, not at all. I didn't sleep again, not because anything happened, but because nothing did. No carousel movement, no footsteps outside, no misplaced flashlight. Even the laughter stayed quiet. And that silence, it's worse than the noises. It's like the park is waiting for me to make the next move. At 8 a.m., the phone rang. Report status. I stared at the wall for a moment, then said, "There's movement in the southern sector. Small disturbances. Could be animals." A half-truth, but it bought me space. I needed them to think I was still doing my job, that I wasn't asking questions. The voice responded instantly, "Continue monitoring. Do not engage." That's the closest they've come to a warning, and I ignored it. The map stayed under my mattress, but I'd already memorized every red mark on it. 2 access points, one under the Tunnel of Wonder, the other a surface-level hatch built into the concrete near the corroded turnstiles. Zone 5. I didn't want to open it, but I needed to see how far the rot went. Around noon, I returned to the southern platform. Same overgrowth, same broken signage. The painted wood still read Zone 5, staff only, in flaking red, half-eaten by mildew. But now the hatch wasn't flush. It had been lifted, not open, not fully, just cracked, maybe an inch, maybe less, but enough to see darkness bleeding from the seams like oil in water. I didn't bring a flashlight. I didn't need one. The inside glowed faintly, pulsing, like the walls were breathing with bioluminescent lungs. I crouched and listened. No whispering, no scraping, just the sound of air moving in a way it shouldn't, like breath without lungs, wind without weather. I turned the handle slowly. It didn't resist. The tunnel beneath wasn't concrete. It was metal, seamless, built with no bolts or visible welds. The kind of construction that doesn't come from county fair contractors or amusement park engineers. It sloped down at a gentle angle, maybe 20 feet before the curve dipped out of view. And it was cold, not drafty, but refrigerated, artificial. Every 10 feet a dim red bulb flickered to life as I passed, triggered by movement or presence. The walls hummed with something electric, like old machines running on memories instead of fuel. At the bottom of the curve, the tunnel split in two. One direction curved left and vanished into darkness. The other led to a steel door. A small plaque beside it read, "Room 9, the one that smiles back." There was no lock, just a keypad, covered in dust. I didn't touch it, but I took a step closer. The air changed, like walking into someone else's fever dream. The hair on my arm stood up. My jaw clenched without meaning to. Something behind that door was thinking about me. I backed away. Before I could turn back, I heard something, not from the door. From the opposite tunnel, the one that curved left, a sound like giggling. Childlike, but not joyous, not mischievous, desperate. It echoed off the walls like a recording played from behind a meat grinder. Then something moved at the edge of the light. A silhouette, small, wrong. It ducked just out of view, but I saw too much, too many joints, too many fingers. The head tilted too far to be intact. I ran, didn't look back, didn't listen for footsteps, just ran up the tunnel, hands slamming into the hatch as I pulled it shut behind me and turned the handle until it screamed. And then I sat there, back against the metal, panting. The air outside was warm again, greasy, like the scent of old butter. Somehow, that was worse. I didn't write a report. I didn't tell the phone anything about room 9, or the giggling thing, or the tunnel that knew my name without ever speaking it. Instead, I made a list. Everything I now believe to be true. Zone 5 predates the park. The park exists to hide it in plain sight. The mascots, Sunny especially, aren't just costumes or props. They are markers, watchers, or lures. I am not the first, last employee. The phrase, "the park still breathes," is not metaphorical. When I returned to the office, the flashlight that had been moved yesterday was gone. I checked under the cot, in the mini fridge, inside the vent grate. Gone. But there was a note taped to the window from the outside, written in the same heavy black pencil as before. She's learning the song again. The humming, the voice from the tunnel. The warning, don't let her sing. I don't know what it means yet, but I think I'm already too late. The note taped to the window is gone now. I didn't remove it. When I stepped outside this morning to check the lot, it was already gone. No breeze, no fluttering paper in the grass, no sound of footsteps overnight. It just wasn't there anymore. I almost convinced myself I imagined it, that I dreamed it or wanted to. But I found something else in its place. Lying beside the security office door was a plush Sunny the Possum doll, one of the ones they used to sell in the gift shop. Same dumb smile, same filthy baseball cap, except this one was soaking wet, and the tag on the ear read, "Keep smiling." That's not a tagline this park ever used. I didn't answer the phone this morning. I couldn't. I just stared at it until it rang, buzzed once, and went quiet. There were no consequences, no follow-up, no second ring. That made it worse, because it meant they don't need me to answer anymore, or maybe they don't expect me to. I spent most of today inside, lights off, sitting in the center of the room with my back to the wall and the map spread out in front of me. The real one, the one I found in the black binder, the one that shows where the holding rooms are. The only part still unlabeled is the center of Zone 5, dead center, a wide square labeled primary structure, unnamed. There's no note, no size estimate, no access point, no warning. But I've started to think it's the heart, the thing everything else was built around, and I think it knows I've seen it now, even if just on paper. I left the office at dusk. I don't know why I chose then. Maybe it's that time of night, just before the lights should come on, where the park feels most like a memory. Everything's cast in gray. The rides look like skeletons. The air smells like moldy sugar and ash. I walked past the Ferris wheel, past the cotton candy booth, and finally back toward the tunnel of wonder. The arch was still there, low, round, painted in mushrooms and stars. The serpent-shaped ride track was long since frozen in place, but something was new. A song. Not humming. A song. Coming from the tunnel, sung low, software. almost like a nursery rhyme. No lyrics I understood, just sounds, too slow to be cheerful, too smooth to be machine-made. I stood at the threshold and listened. That's when I noticed the sunny statue. It hadn't been there an hour ago. Now it stood 10 feet inside the tunnel entrance, head cocked, mouth wide, one hand raised in a wave. I should have left, I know that. But I didn't. I stepped inside, just far enough for the tunnel to swallow the light behind me. The painted mushrooms glowed faintly under the grime. Their cartoon eyes stared in different directions. The smiling clouds above seemed to flicker, not just from my flashlight beam, but from something underneath the paint. The song continued, a little louder, a little closer, and then, just for a moment, I saw her, standing further down the track, a silhouette in a faded bear mascot costume. The seams split open, something glistening and raw pressed through the eye holes. She didn't move, but the mouth of the costume opened slightly, just enough to keep singing. I blinked, and she was gone. I don't remember how long I stood there, but I do remember turning around and seeing the sunny statue again, closer, closer than before, right behind me. This time its mouth wasn't just open, it was smiling, not the plastic, molded expression. It had changed. The teeth inside weren't foam or resin. They were long, yellow, wet, and it was looking past me. I ran, straight out of the tunnel, back through the midway. I didn't stop until I reached the office and slammed the door shut. I checked every corner, the vents, the cabinets. No one was there, but my mattress had been flipped, and the map was gone. I didn't sleep. Around 3 a.m., the power came on across the park. Everything lit up at once. Every ride, every bulb, even the prize booth signage. Music played, faint at first, then louder. Carousel calliope, pipe organ tones, Sonny the Possum's cheerful jingle. The Ferris wheel began turning, grinding in wide, slow circles. The funhouse mirrors glowed with flickering light. I watched from the office window, not breathing, and I saw them, figures, walking through the park like visitors, but they weren't moving right. Too tall, too slow, their heads too wide. Their arms hung low like puppets with no strings. They didn't shimmer like ghosts. They cast shadows. They were real. The phone rang. I shouldn't have answered it, but I did. It was the same voice as before, the one that used to be flat, now slightly more amused. "Have you put it on yet?" I didn't speak. I couldn't. "It's time," the voice said. "We're opening tomorrow." Then it hung up. There's a sunny mascot suit folded on my cot now. Not a statue, not a doll, a full suit. The head's facing me. The smile looks fresh, like it wasn't molded, like someone grew it. There's a note on top. "Your shift begins at dawn." The lights are still on across the park. I can hear footsteps outside. I think they're waiting for me to put it on. I don't know what happens if I do, but I don't think I was ever here to clean up a ruin. I think I was brought here to join the show. And I think once I put the head on, I won't be allowed to take it off. Not ever again.